Tonight we are here to share the information that you requested that we go out and gather for you. So we are strictly sharing information tonight. We are going to repeat this meeting 2 other times. The presentation will not change, and we will also have it posted on our district website with a feedback email that you can submit questions and any questions or feedback that you have. So again, we're excited that you're here. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Horton, but first I want to recognize we have our Vice Chair, Miss Ellison Gevertz, here with us this evening. We have Board Member Whitney McGinnis here this evening. Board Member Andrew Zipper. Members of our Facilities Department, Operations are here as well. And if you need translation services, we have translators at the very, very back of the room. So, Dr. Horton, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
Thank you all for coming out for this highly anticipated meeting. It's been on our radar for quite some time, and we know it's been on yours for some time as well. The purpose of tonight's gathering is for us to just really provide an update on what we found and what was shared with us with potential landing spots for Druid Hills. Can't call it modernization if we move off the campus, but if we stay on campus, it's modernization. And so those are just some of the things we want to share. And I know with all of the anticipation that's coming, our goal is to make the full recommendation in November. We want to make sure that we share this information. We are here to share, and there will be some questions that we will be able to answer. And just know we won't go down the rabbit hole of answering questions, but we will stay above board as we go through our process and make sure that we hear from you and you hear from us, and then we will come in November with a recommendation. And I believe we'll all land somewhere where our students, most importantly, and our staff could be really happy about the school experience. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our COO, who's always getting it done for us, Chief Hofstetter.
Yikes. Hey. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Haven't heard that in a while. Hey, thanks again for coming here. Thank you for laughing. Thanks again for coming. We pick up from a year later, so it's good to see a lot of the same faces, but also some new faces. And we look forward to this conversation. So, hey. All right, why are we here? So we're going to do a quick recap, and then we're going to talk about the new information that's been provided for us based on the study. And then we'll go ahead and just open it up with some clarifying questions, if there are any, and then just follow up with any, I think we'll take some questions at the end. Is that correct? Yep, questions at the end, all right? So in the meantime, I just want to make sure we all remember how to get here. Again, if you don't have this info, it is still on the website at www.dekalbschools.ga.org. And that's on our capital improvement page website, capital improvement program. There's a whole link just for this project here. Again, we had several community meetings last year. We've talked quite a bit. We also went to schools, PACs, PTOs, PTAs, and a number of other varieties. I think we had some virtual meetings because our goal was just to hear from as many people as we could about thoughts on this project. Mic issue.
You got to come back this way, I think.
Am I too far? Am I too far? There it is. Okay, thank you. Okay, just a couple other ground. Now I got to go back here. Where is it? I hate being right in the middle of it here. Test, test, test. Test, test. Test, test. Woo. Okay, don't move. Here we go. A couple other things. We talked about planning. So this is the property that DeKalb County School District owns. So the planning needs to be done on the current land that we own, okay? And that's how we do this. We are committed to modernization, as you know. Now, just to remember what we mean by modernization. We are modernizing the facility. That means this building and the building itself, all right? That is what was agreed to in 2022, was a modernization of the facility. And that's under the Georgia Department of Education's modernization program. Uh-oh. Can you still hear? All right. Okay, and in parallel process, we have some members, student assignment project that's been ongoing. Just quick show of hands, anyone on the committee, on the student advisory project? Raise them high. Thank you very much for your service. The team's been at it for over a year now, and we certainly appreciate all the advice and the recommendations you're about to give coming forward. So in the middle of all this, we do have it in parallel, just as all our schools are, with the project, and we talked a little bit about that last year. All right, moving forward, how did we get here? So when we did the initial assessment by our partner architects, PBK, last year we looked at the facility for modernization, which is a required report we must do, and we went over that there were 10 major areas that we know we needed to work on. 4 of those being the most significant, those are in the red. These are non-negotiable, they have to happen. And when we saw that especially number 1 came up about emergency access, we know we had some real challenges here to the campus, and we looked at a number of ways to resolve it. But the reality is that's what's spurred this whole thing on about not just modernization, now you're gonna have to do some demolition and then some potential additions or reconstruction, okay? And then that kind of made the program go a little bit off from what the original intent was. I don't know, what am I doing wrong? Just sort of like that. Like that? The battery's dying.
No, battery's good. Test, 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 test.
Maybe it's me.
You got one more.
Test, test. All right, I will try to make this go through and I'll talk as loud as I can. How's that? All right, so this is again all on the website. This is from last year, but that's how we arrived at the conversations. Moving forward, we had 3 different, ended up on meeting 3, right? We had 3 different scenarios. 1, to modernize here and bring it up to code, all right? And those were some estimate numbers. Second is to say, hey, it looks like the area is growing. Not only rebuild, or not rebuild, but modernize, but also we may have to do some additions, and if we are, why don't we increase the capacity to 1,600? All right, and we're gonna look at that program tonight. And then last is, why don't we also look at some alternative sites that may be more fitting to meet the design specifications of what we call a neighborhood high school, or some people call it a traditional high school, with all the athletic fields and amenities and everything else that most of us are familiar with, just to see how that may fit. Okay, so that's where we were, recap. And then we looked at, all right, what's some of the criteria that we want to see, so some of the deficiencies here with this site, and how we may be able to overcome it, and go look at other sites and see how much you can get, right? And so that's why we looked at student, staff, maximize all those things that we need. And I think you can read them up there, right? Okay. Bringing back any memories from last year yet? Okay, good. I like the nod of hands. All right. And then our last one, so it said, let's go out and take a look just at some other sites for comparison. There were 3 sites selected. The Clarendon Avenue, which you'll read in the report after today, it will be posted on the website. A spoiler alert, it's 600 plus pages, but feel free. The Clarendon is the current DSA or former Avondale High School site. We looked at what's referred to as the Mount Olive Road site, which is Druid Hills Middle School. And then third, we looked at the old Rockbridge Road site, which is the current DAA facility. And of course, we're looking at the Haygood Drive, which is right here where we're standing today, about what a 1,600 FTE may look like, okay? All right, here we go. So here's our site assessments, and we're gonna go right to the spoiler alert. Based on the architect's evaluation of different sites, we're looking down under the executive summary, and after, you could read it there, comprehensive evaluation, all 4 sites. Both the Clarendon site, which is the former Avondale High School site / DSA, and the current Druid Hills Middle School site, or Mount Olive, emerge as the 2 that are most suitable on this study to be a neighborhood high school, meet the specifications, okay? The next one you'll see, Haygood Drive, which is here. It can go to 1,600. but it's still got some severe limitations when we talk things about athletic fields and parking and ways to mitigate that, okay? And we talked about that last year. And then Old Rockbridge Road from DAA, don't even recommend, you'll see why. Just ran into so many challenges that it just didn't seem like it was even a suitable alternative site. Okay. Give it a moment. Okay. Right in here. So let's look at this site right here, Haygood Drive. Architects did a great job looking at it. How would you go to 1600 and meet all the modernization requirements? And you can see an overhead map there. It looks a little bit different than where you are. You'll see a field in the back. It's not a regulation field, but what that is a parking garage with a field on top. Okay? So you got a field on top of the parking garage. Now, what you don't see are things like softball, baseball, right? Again, I think we went over that last year. Just mathematically, with the current site the way it is, it's just extremely challenging, near improbable to be able to get all those amenities on this site. However, and again, you can read through, it can, with 1600, you're looking at a number of sizes of buildings, circulation, and still meet all the requirements necessary for modernization on this site, okay? So we got claps on an aerial. Okay, well here, let me show you a different angle. So you got things that look like this, right? You got some atriums. Again, we talked about connecting the school. Now, what I didn't tell you, if you go back and look, whoops, wrong way. And you may see it there. If you look at that current aerial map, there's two buildings remaining. One is I guess called the historic building, which we're standing in now. And the other building that's still remaining is the newer, I guess, science building, I think it's referred to here locally, all right? Everything else redone, okay? All right, now we'll keep going for some ideas. Again, these are conceptual. If this were determined to be the place that we're going to do this, it will not look exactly like that. It just gives you an idea of what can be done, okay? Not necessarily will be done, all right? So I just don't want to get too fixated on it, complete with the children in the picture. Front view, again, you can see the health sciences, or excuse me, the science building, and then you'll see a rendering of the current, everything else being new, and you can kind of see how it connects and goes way back. All right. And there's like a rear view, all right?
Thank you.
But wait, there's more, right? There's not more? Okay. All right, but you can see how a lot of buildings are replaced with a 4-story building. It does have a gym. It will have a 600-seat auditorium, if I recall, right? That's kind of specced out in this as well, in addition to this theater here. And again, we ended up with 500 parking, roughly, in the parking garage. Again, 2-story. Now that field, I know it looks like it, but it's not. It is not a regulation field. All right, but it is a practice field nonetheless. Okay? Yeah, and we just threw tennis courts again. These are what ifs, not necessarily what will be, okay? It's just possibilities here. We're trying to fit as much as we can. All right, just kind of a wrap up here. When you're looking at it, we're paying roughly $500 per square foot in the going market rate. To do all this, this is construction estimates only, okay? It doesn't talk about what are you going to do with the kids and the cost of doing that while you build. It doesn't include architect and engineering fees, and it doesn't include furniture, and it doesn't include tech. This is just to construct a building similar to what you saw, okay? And it's running just under about $150 million if we're looking at a 2027 start. So that's kind of the estimate, somewhere in that range, all right? Again, these are high-level first-run estimates, rough order estimates based on what we're seeing, okay? But a lot can change between now and then. We're very far away from making any of those decisions at this point. All right, so that's Haygood Drive. That's a 1,600 FTE. Current building here is 1,200, okay? So, and it's been operating a little around 1,400, give or take, for a number of years, all right? So this would add more seats to it, okay? All right, we're gonna move on. So let's go down to the Clarendon site. This is the former Avondale High School and more current DSA program, or excuse me, school. DeKalb School of the Arts is located. Again, these are conceptual high level. This was a 1600. We also asked the architects in our newer specs that we try to build high schools, or at least design high schools, out to 2400 FTE. Again, when we build, we're looking for 50 years, 60 years down the road. It's very hard for any of us to predict. But a lot of times we want to design to a 2400 and we might only build to a 1600, but 10 years from now, maybe you need another wing. It's already designed for that. So everybody knows where things go. It's called site planning. All right, but what you're seeing here is the equivalent of a 1600 FTE, so very similar to what you have here. You do have the full complement of all the athletic fields, and it can handle that, and the access roads if you're all familiar with that area. A couple of the deficiencies, there's nothing too notable, but it does sit on two sides of the road, and it can't accommodate a 2400. Moving forward, this is a conceptual view. Again, not necessarily the finished product, just a product of what a 1600 would look like. If we were to go further or larger, we would probably begin to stack that in order to get more parking and go up, all right? For those of you who've been following our Sequoia Middle School, High School project, you got a 4- and a 5-story building going on there, right? Because our sites are small comparatively for today's modern high schools. All right, so we would generally go up, gives you more space for fields and parking. All the things we talked about last year. But as you can see in this configuration, you still have plenty of room, okay? All right, just some other views. No, this would all be new. Most likely, yes. That contemplates doing that. And again, there's no decisions made. These are just the what ifs of what can be. If again, this site was determined to be the place, we would obviously put more resources and time to really get real creative on the best way to use that piece of property, as we would with any site, okay? Again, just a front view, courtyard view, things of that nature, okay? You can just kind of see the look and the feel of how that runs. And when we look at that size for the 1600, current estimates out to 2027, using that roughly $500, just under $500 square foot, that brings it somewhere around 127 million estimate to build that school there, okay? It does not, again, this does not include the athletics, the cost, is that correct? This one includes the athletic fields? I'm sorry. So this includes athletic field construction, but it does not include A&E, right? Architectural engineering fees, furniture and technology and things of that nature, okay? That's the construction, though, of the parking and the athletic facilities, okay? You want to ask now or you want to hold on to it? Yep. Well, yeah, we're going to talk about that because we're still committed to using this building. This building's not going anywhere, and at least we're not recommending it goes anywhere. We need to use this for educational purposes, okay? But we'll talk about that at the end. Again, and if you look in the report, that's just a page right out of the report, kind of breaks down how those costs are arrived. All right, let's go to Druid Hills Middle School, referred to when you read the report as the Mount Olive Road, or excuse me, Mount Olive Drive, thank you. Again, can it hold 1600? Yes. Can it hold 2400? There is some design that says, yeah, we can do out to 2400 there. Still got some more challenges though. If you're familiar with, most of you are familiar with that school site. It does sit in the middle of a neighborhood, so you got a little bit of access. It can all fit, but it gets real close. It does have some other areas of it where we can't build, particularly up in the corners. These are all just drainage and state water areas and things of that nature, but that's all right. None of that's contemplated in this, that idea there. Probably would also need a parking garage potentially here. And again, if this site was determined to be the site, we would probably build upwards to try to conserve as much usable land as possible. All right. Now, what you notice up here is a baseball field, and same with the others. So our new specification that we're moving to is a single baseball-softball combination field, all artificial turf used by both, right? And that is to conserve our land. That's what's going in up at Cross Keys in the next couple of years, as well as Sequoia. All right, so that'll be the standard here. Again, it's all about utilization of the land. All right. All right, and moving forward again, just some more conceptual looks at what might be or could be. Similar type design, a rear view, and courtyard view, same things, all right? Again, conceptual. And for this particular one, it was a little bit more because there are some topography. Unlike the other sites, this one has some real some topographical issues that would need to be mitigated, and so it might be a little bit, cost a little bit more. So they had this one a little over 500. Again, you can see the estimate right about 133 million. Again, that includes fields, but does not include architecture and engineering cost, furniture, technology, and those type of things. This is construction only, okay? Construction only. All right, and then this last one, we'll go through. So this is Old Rockbridge Road. That was the other site that we looked at, the current DAA facility. And again, if you're familiar with that, while it looks good, there is some challenges. Now this one tried to do something a little bit different here because you have a newer building, the classroom wings. Whoops, excuse me. The classroom wings, we were trying to salvage those because those are still in pretty good shape. But in order to be a high school and get the full complement, it would still need a bigger gymnasium, CTAE classrooms, things of that nature, right? So we needed to add quite a bit to it. This is try to get to a 1,600 FTE, all right? But the access to this going through a neighborhood, it just became more and more and more and more challenging to the point to where architects wouldn't even recommend this as a site at this point for a traditional high school or a neighborhood high school. It obviously can serve a middle school at this point or even an elementary school, but it cannot fulfill the full complement of all the amenities of our neighborhood high school, all right? And then had plenty of access. So we kind of said, all right, we'll draw a line through that one, okay? Just leave that there for a second again, but if you wanted to see some conceptual, you'll see where it's quite a bit of usable land there. Trying again to salvage current classrooms that are there, classroom buildings, and trying to add on to that, okay? If you were to go to a 24, we'd have to completely level the entire campus, reset it, and go up. But that would obviously keep the cost driving up. You would still have some access issues going through the neighborhood, and it would still be very, very, very tight. Okay. Just another view of what that conceptual may look, and you can see where it kind of pretty much takes up the entire piece of land there as well. Okay. All right. Total cost there is a little bit less, obviously, because we're trying to salvage a building, but it's still just under 100 million is the cost estimate in order to get that. All right. So just a big summary, just to try to help it out, because there's a lot of information there. Just kind of categorize the 4 main points of some of the criteria, what we saw. Hey, good, obviously here you can see the different columns. Site capacity, 1,600. Now, to go to 1,600, we still need a lot more work because you got traffic studies, congestion, and everything else. So, and you already know how it is, right? So those are things that we would have to look at much more in depth if this was the chosen site. The other 2 sites we can do out to 2,400. Clarendon is a little bit easier to get a 2,400. The Mount Olive, a little more challenging in order to get it, but it can be done. Accessibility, we've already found through the architect's assessment, even from last year, that there are some deficiencies with accessibility, meaning getting here by vehicles and getting to where you need to be in circulation around. All right, so this site does have a lot of deficiencies we'd have to overcome. And even then, you're still putting a lot on one road, so that's why.
Why would we not display the cost of what they're actually going to reflect? If we have to update this building either way, this is not reflecting an accurate cost description.
Hang on to that. I hear you. Just we'll try to answer that. And again, you can see where the others, when we talk about compliant. So these are DOE specifications and other local ordinance codes. When we talk about compliant, is it compliant with the design specifications that we would have here in DeKalb County Schools of a high school? All right. So that's why you'll see there's marginally compliant, because if you were to build here, we still can't get those athletic fields on. All right, but we can, anything inside a program or inside the building, we can overcome that. Okay. Constructability, same thing. There would be some significant logistical. Now, each site is an active school site right now anyway, so we would have to overcome that. But again, if you're going to do it here, what do we do with the high school while we're building, especially something that size? So there's a lot more questions that would have to be answered if this were the selected site. If you were to go to the Clarendon Avenue or Avondale, again, you have the DeKalb School of the Arts there. We'd have to do something with that while we build, and even at Druid Hills Middle School. Each site has its challenges. Each would have different solutions potentially in order to resolve that during the time. Some schedules may be different. Some may be longer. Some might be a little quicker, right? But all that adds up. Okay. And then we just kind of had a cost comparison to that at this point. Okay. Now, we're going to continue just with a little bit more. Meanwhile, Ms. Caracciolo is going to, is going to pass out some index cards. If you feel free to write some questions down, and we'll try to answer what we can. If not, we'll take those back, get responses. We'll put those on a piece of paper, and we'll get them back out on the website, okay? I'm going to keep on rolling, though, while she's doing that. There was questions here about travel time. And we talked quite a bit about this last year, about where do the students who currently live in the attendance zone, where do they go to school? So looking at this, so this is the median distance and heat map, not average. This is the median. So 50% of the kids over, 50% under. All right, does that make sense? So if you take the median distance, and we took the DAA side off because we're not even going to recommend that, you can see where the students live and the distance to the current site, where at least half the students, or excuse me, more than half, right? More than 50% of the students already travel 3.6, these are road miles, Google miles, right? In order to get here is the average, or the median, excuse me. To get to the middle school site, if it were to go there, it's right about 3.2, and again, to get down to the Clarendon or DSA sites, about 3.6. So each are about the same, they would just be a different half of students. It's pretty much what it comes down to, depending on where you live. All right, so there was questions about that, and we wanted to go ahead and put those numbers in there so people can see what that looks like. Okay.
Is that census data or is that enrollment data?
That is our enrollment data and where our students live. All right. I'm sorry?
This is before the redistricting that hasn't been made.
I'll be back.
Oh, yeah, this is current, right. Yeah. This is everyone in the feeder currently in that attendance zone. How's that? They could. Well, no, we don't have that. These are students that are enrolled here. Yeah.
Is that high school attendance?
Yes.
High school enrollment, not your elementary?
That's correct. That's correct. As of current, right? We know this will change. But again, where it changes is based on our forecast. And so we need to be always considering that as well.
Was any consideration given to travel time and not just miles? Because we all know that 3 miles in Atlanta is 30 minutes.
We haven't gone that far yet, but we already know what the travel times are from all of that to this current site, because it's been done every day now for several years. So we do have that data. But if we were to start to run, we would have to, we'd have to really get down into that. Yeah, but what we're trying to see is, yes, distance-wise, they're relatively equal, all right, relatively. Now, travel time, again, depending on where you're coming from, can vary. No. I mean, it matters to those who ask the questions about, is it further, is it, if you go to this site, that site. We've had a lot of questions. Well, even though it's an attendance zone, where do the kids live? Right? They don't, what we do know is they don't, not as many live in the immediate area. So where you would see smaller elementary schools, most people walk here. This one, most people don't, right? And that's why they asked. So they said, if you went to other sites, what would that look like? And that's why we wanted to show this data. Yep. I mean, you can draw your own conclusions. Yeah. And again, I think it depends who you are and where you live.
If you could put up your card, I'll come around and collect them.
Do you guys have one card? Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. All right, and I'm going to bring up this Sarita Smith, our executive director, who's over the student assignment project. Been working very diligently. So I'm going to let her just say a few words because those of you who've been involved and you all know about it, just want to show you how this is also part of that process. Give it up for Ms. Smith.
So I'm really just the buffer so you guys can answer questions, write your questions down on the card, and I'll tell you what we're doing for student assignment. So we have been, I think Mr. Hofstetter said this already, we've been at this about a little over a year now looking at all of our schools, buildings, boundaries, and programs. There's a video on our website that talks about kind of the 5 reasons why this is important. There is a lot of things out of DeKalb or our control, unless people want to have a whole lot of children really, really soon. There are some real implications to enrollment. There are real implications to our buildings, our finances that show why we need to do this work. So please check out that video. We have been looking at balancing, again, kind of holistically throughout our district. So not just the numbers that come out of our operations and planning team. We have a committee of over 150 people. We have anecdotal information. I have visited every single school, every principal and registrar to ask them on the ground level, like what is working, what are challenges with your buildings, boundaries, and programs, so we could bring that into the conversation as well. I'm about to start hosting open meetings, call me crazy, but I want to hear your voices and really put that in. So when we say community feedback and really pushing that into our decision-making process, I don't take that lightly. It is not just, hey, we heard you, and then we're moving on. Like, I take the information, I'm bringing it to the board, I take it back to the committee, we push it against our guiding principles and say, have we really thought about that, and how that affects our families that may push on this information. So we have a bunch of committees. Last year we divided them into 4 areas. This year it is a committee of the whole. We are meeting twice monthly to really get some recommendations around this work. So we'll, again, take kind of all that into account. You'll see our guiding principles there. I want to stress, and I say this at every community meeting, your feelings are valid. It doesn't necessarily mean it meets our guiding principles. We spent 3 months making those, so I push people on pushing advocacy and not just opposition, because if it doesn't connect to the work that we've been doing, it's going to be really hard to push that into our process. So please look at those guiding principles. If there's a way you could connect your advocacy to that, that is going to really, really help the process for the committee as we push that into our work. And so now we're at the point where we are looking at programs, figuring out program placement. Next week we'll be kind of solidifying that, and then we'll be starting to look at neighborhood schools. So time-wise of this getting to the board in November is perfect, because based on whatever is decided, we can then rope that into our general process. I do want to stress that regardless of what happens in the modernization piece, we'll still look at whatever happens in Druid Hills in the holistic picture of the whole process for all of our buildings, boundaries, and programs.
Right.
That's my commercial break. Hopefully you're done with your questions now, so we can collect them.
Did you say recommendations to the board in November?
No. This recommendation will go to the board in November, which will push into ours. We'll have some preliminary stuff coming out in January, so we can start talking to communities and then finalizing them hopefully by May.
All right, here, let me finish out here and then we'll go.
Okay. In the middle.
Sorry?
Bring their card. Could you pass
Oh,
the cards
pass
to
it
the
to the
middle,
middle?
kind of like we're in church,
All right.
and I'll pick them up?
All right, so while you're doing that, just a couple things more. We're going to have at least 2 more meetings that are scheduled. These will be the exact same meeting we're doing here. Our goal was to get them around the whole attendance zone to give people an opportunity to all come here, see the information, and ask clarifying questions as well. There will be no new information delivered at any of the other meetings. Okay, that is our pledge to you. We're just simply what's here. You're more than welcome to come and join in the conversation. We do look forward to you. Next one will be October 7th, next Tuesday. That'll be down at DeKalb School of the Arts in the cafeteria. Understood. So if you'd like to show up to that, that's fine too. All right, and then we have one more, Druid Hills Middle School. That'll be on October 20th. October 20th. So go enjoy break with the kids, and then when we come back, we'll talk again. And then we'll go from there. And as Dr. Horton said, I think the goal is for our board to make a recommendation in November. Is that correct? And that's what we're still tracking.